The Valari civilization was dying. Their once beautiful blue planet, orbiting a distant star, faced slow but certain doom. Strange energy pulses from their aging sun had begun to disrupt the delicate balance of their world. Oceans grew warmer. Storms raged with increasing fury. Crops failed in fields that had been fertile for thousands of years. The Valari were an ancient people. Their civilization had flourished for billions of years, advancing far beyond what humans could imagine. Yet for all their knowledge and technology, they could not save their dying world. Their scientists had tried everything. They built massive shields to block the harmful radiation. They created new plant species that could survive the changing climate. They even attempted to stabilize their sun with advanced energy fields. Nothing worked. In the great crystal dome of their capital city, the 12 members of the Valari Council gathered for what might be their most important meeting ever. Elder Malin, his translucent skin glowing faintly with distress, addressed his fellow council members. "We have tried every solution within our power," Malin said, his voice soft but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Our world has perhaps 2 centuries before it becomes completely uninhabitable. We must consider the unthinkable, seeking help from beyond our star system." The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. The Valari had detected other civilizations in the galaxy, but had always followed their ancient law of non-interference. To reach out would break thousands of years of tradition. "Who would we even contact?" asked Counselor Thela, her neural pathways visibly pulsing beneath her skin. "Most species we've observed are primitive or violent." "There is one possibility," said Malin, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. A small blue-green planet appeared, orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. "This world, called Earth by its inhabitants, we have been observing them for centuries. They are young as a spacefaring species, but remarkably adaptable and resilient." The council watched recordings of human history, terrible wars, but also incredible acts of cooperation and compassion. They saw humans coming together to fight diseases, rebuild after disasters, and venture into space despite their technological limitations. "They solve problems in ways we would never consider," Malin explained. "Their thinking is different from ours. They may see solutions we cannot." After days of debate, the council made their decision. They would break their oldest tradition and send a message to Earth, asking for help. The Valari's greatest communication experts worked tirelessly to create a message that humans could understand. They included mathematical sequences as a universal language, detailed star charts showing the location of their world, and images explaining their dire situation. The message contained the entire history of their species and explicit instructions for building technology that would allow humans to respond. With a ceremonial touch to the crystal control panel, Malin sent the message speeding across the 40 light-years of space that separated the Valari from Earth. As the transmission began its decades-long journey, the Valari could only wait and hope. 43 years later, on Earth, a routine shift at the Global Deep Space Monitoring Station became anything but ordinary. Technician Jinho Park was about to end his night shift when his equipment detected an unusual pattern from the direction of the Lyra constellation. "This can't be right," Jinho muttered, checking his instruments. The signal was clear, structured, and definitely artificial. Following protocol, he immediately alerted his supervisor. Within hours, the signal had been confirmed by listening stations around the world. Within days, mathematicians had begun to decode the first layers of the message. Within weeks, the startling truth became clear. Humanity had received its first confirmed communication from an alien civilization, and it was a plea for help. Dr. Hannah Kim was not supposed to be the one who decoded the Valari message. As a xenolinguist at the United Space Initiative, she had been called in as just one of dozens of experts. But while others focused on the mathematical patterns, Hannah noticed something else: structures that resembled language. Working day and night in her small office, surrounded by screens and notes, she made the breakthrough everyone had missed. The mathematics isn't just a translation key, she explained to her skeptical colleagues. It's the foundation of their actual language. Their words are mathematical formulas. With this insight, Hannah unlocked the deeper content of the message. She learned about the Valari civilization, their dying world, and why they had chosen Earth to receive their desperate call. 3 months after the signal's discovery, Hannah stood before the World Council in Geneva. Leaders from every nation had gathered to hear her report. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her glasses and looked out at the serious faces. The Valari civilization is approximately 3.2 billion years old, she told the hushed assembly. Their technology is far beyond ours, yet they face a problem they cannot solve. Their star is becoming unstable in ways their science cannot counteract. They have less than 2 centuries before their planet becomes completely uninhabitable. A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. Questions came rapidly. How could such an advanced civilization need human help? Was this a trick? A trap? Hannah displayed the detailed star charts from the message. They've shown us exactly where they are, 40 light-years away. They've shared their technology and knowledge freely. Most importantly, she continued, pulling up the final section of her presentation, they've been watching us. For centuries. The room grew silent again as images appeared on the screen. Earth history, as seen through alien eyes. The Valari had observed human civilization, rising, struggling, falling, and rising again. They had witnessed world wars and global cooperation. They had seen humans damage their environment and then work to restore it. They chose us, Hannah said simply, because out of all the worlds they've observed, humans show the greatest capacity for creative problem-solving and cooperation in crisis. They believe we might see solutions their minds cannot grasp. As the World Council began its heated debate about how to respond, Hannah looked at the final decoded image from the Valari message, a simple depiction of 2 different hands reaching toward each other across the stars. The future of 2 worlds now hung in the balance of humanity's decision. The great hall of the World Council fell silent as the debate began. For 3 weeks, Earth's leaders had studied the Valari message. Now they gathered to decide if humanity would answer an alien call for help. We cannot trust these aliens, said the representative from Russia, his voice stern. This could be a trap to lure us into sending our best minds and technology away from Earth. The Chinese delegate nodded in agreement. If their civilization is billions of years old, why would they need our help? It makes no sense. Many nations shared these fears. The Valari message revealed a species with technology far beyond human understanding. Why would such advanced beings need help from humans? Dr. Hannah Kim stood to address these concerns. The xenolinguist looked tired after months of decoding the alien message, but her voice remained strong. The Valari think differently than we do, she explained. Their minds work like living computers, logical and precise, but they struggle with creative leaps and unconventional solutions. Their message shows they've watched human history and seen something special in us, our ability to solve problems in unexpected ways. The debate continued for hours. The African Union representative spoke of humanity's moral duty to help. The European Federation worried about the cost of such a mission. The American delegate questioned if Earth should involve itself in matters 40 light-years away. As the argument circled, a man in a Space Navy uniform stood up from the observer section. Captain Jun Park had not been scheduled to speak. As commander of the exploratory vessel Prometheus, he had more deep space experience than anyone in the room. "Madam Chairperson," he said, "may I address the council?" The chairperson nodded, curious about what this respected space captain might say. June walked to the center of the chamber, looking each world leader in the eye before speaking. "Throughout our history," he began, his voice quiet yet carrying to every corner of the hall, "we've asked ourselves if we're alone in the universe. Philosophers, scientists, and ordinary people have looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Now we know we're not alone. And our first contact isn't an invasion force or simple greeting. It's a species asking for our help. The room remained silent as he continued. Yes, there are risks. But think about what this means. A civilization billions of years old has looked across the galaxy and decided that humans, young, struggling humans, might have something valuable to offer. They've seen in us what we sometimes fail to see in ourselves. June showed them images from Earth's history, humans forming rescue chains during floods, rebuilding cities after earthquakes, finding cures for diseases once thought hopeless. The Valari have watched us fight, suffer, and nearly destroy ourselves, he said, but they've also seen us heal, rebuild, and grow. They've chosen us because of our resilience and creativity. His final words echoed in the silent chamber. How we respond will define humanity for generations to come. Are we the species that turns away when called? Or are we the ones who cross the stars to help? After June's speech, the debate took on a different tone. Nations began discussing how they might help rather than why they shouldn't. 2 more weeks passed. Scientists calculated the resources needed. Engineers evaluated technological requirements. Economists projected costs. The task seemed impossible. To build ships capable of traveling 40 light years and carrying enough experts and equipment to help save an alien world. On a rainy Tuesday morning, the World Council reconvened to vote. One by one, nations cast their ballots. When the final count was announced, it was decisive. Earth would answer the call. Project Lifeline was born the next day. Humanity's most ambitious endeavor ever. The plan called for 5 massive ships, each specialized for different aspects of the mission. The Prometheus would lead as the command vessel. The Einstein would carry scientists and research facilities. The Gaia would transport ecological and environmental specialists. The Curie would serve as a mobile medical and biological science center. The Armstrong would bring engineering teams and manufacturing capabilities. Building such vessels required global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Former rival nations shared their most guarded technological secrets. Private companies donated patents and research. Universities around the world redirected their brightest minds to solve the countless challenges. Hye-in Choi, South Korea's most brilliant aerospace engineer, designed new propulsion systems that could sustain near-light speeds for decades. Soo-yeon Kim, a materials scientist from Seoul National University, developed hull materials that could withstand micrometeorite impacts for the entire journey. We'll need to reach at least 30% of light speed, Hye-in explained during a global broadcast. At that velocity, the journey will take approximately 30 years. This leaves us just enough time to develop solutions for the Valari crisis upon arrival. The biggest challenge was life support. No human had ever lived in deep space for 3 decades. Tae-woo Lim, a bioengineer from Busan, proposed a revolutionary solution, a self-sustaining ecosystem within each ship, complete with farms, forests, and water recycling systems modeled after Earth's natural cycles. These won't be mere spaceships, Tae-woo explained. They'll be worlds unto themselves, supporting thousands of people for a generation. Construction began at orbital shipyards built specifically for Project Lifeline. Every day, thousands of shuttle flights carried materials from Earth. Workers from all nations lived together in space, united in their purpose. Captain Jun Park, now appointed admiral of the Lifeline fleet, watched the vessels take shape from the window of his orbital office. The ships were massive, each over 3 kilometers long, designed to carry everything humanity would need for its mission of mercy. "Will you take your family?" a reporter asked him during an interview. June looked thoughtful before answering. "My wife and daughter will join me. This isn't just a mission. It's a journey that will span generations. Many of the people who arrive to help the Valari will be the children and grandchildren of those who leave Earth." As the ships neared completion, a global call went out for volunteers. Millions applied to join the mission. Only the best were selected. Scientists, engineers, doctors, farmers, teachers, and others whose skills would be needed to sustain life during the journey and help the Valari upon arrival. 5 years after receiving the alien message, Earth sent its reply. "We have received your call. We are coming. Project Lifeline is underway." The message would take 40 years to reach the Valari. Long before they received it, 5 ships would depart Earth, carrying humanity's promise across the stars. On a clear morning in July 2157, humanity watched as 5 enormous ships lifted silently from Earth's orbital shipyards. The vessels, Prometheus, Einstein, Gaia, Curie, and Armstrong, glowed against the black of space as their engines powered up. Each ship carried 2,000 people, the seeds of countless plants, frozen embryos of animals, and the hopes of an entire planet. Among those watching from a viewing station was 8-year-old Minji Lee. She held her grandmother's hand tightly as the ships grew smaller in the distance. "Will I ever see you again?" Minji asked, looking up at Dr. Hannah Kim, the woman who had first decoded the Valari message. "I'm too old for space travel," Hannah said with a gentle smile. "But someday you might join them. The mission will need bright young minds like yours." 15 years later, Minji did exactly that. After completing her studies in xenobiology, she boarded a fast scout ship that would catch up to the Lifeline fleet. Now 23, she carried with her a small box containing her grandmother's notes on the Valari language. The scout ship reached the fleet after a 3-year journey. As Minji stepped through the airlock onto the Prometheus, she was struck by how different life was here. The ship had its own weather, with clouds forming beneath the vast transparent dome that covered the central habitat. Trees grew in carefully planned forests. Children played in parks that looked almost like Earth, except for the stars visible overhead. "Welcome aboard," said a young man who came to greet her. "I'm Chunho, your orientation guide." "This is amazing," Minji said, looking around. "It's like a piece of Earth traveling through space." Chunho laughed. "I wouldn't know. I was born here, in year 5 of the journey." Minji realized with a start that Chunho had never set foot on Earth. His entire life had been lived aboard this ship traveling between stars. Over the following years, Minji adapted to life on the Prometheus. She worked in the xenobiology lab, preparing for eventual contact with the Valari. Using her grandmother's notes, she became the fleet's leading expert on Valari biology and culture. Life on the ships developed its own rhythm and culture. People married, had children, and died. Some babies were born who would be grandparents by the time the fleet reached its destination. Schools taught children about both Earth and the Valari, preparing them for a future serving a mission started before they were born. The 5 ships traveled together in formation, close enough to see each other as bright points of light. Once a year, they would move close enough for shuttle visits, hosting an intership festival that became the highlight of the fleet's social calendar. In her 50s, Minji became a teacher, passing on her knowledge to the next generation. She married a ship engineer named Juwoo, and they had a daughter. They named her Hana, after Minji's grandmother. "Will we really help aliens when we arrive?" young Hana asked one night as Minji tucked her into bed. "The Valari aren't just aliens," Minji explained. "They're people who need help. They're different from us in many ways, but they feel fear and hope just like we do." In the 30th year of the journey, Minji was working late in her lab when alarms sounded throughout the ship. She rushed to the command center, where Captain Do-Yeon Kang was studying strange readings on the main display. "We've detected unusual energy signatures ahead," he explained to the gathered senior staff. "Nothing like this was in our star charts." Do-Yeon was the 3rd captain of the Prometheus. Born on Earth, he had been just a junior officer when the journey began. His weathered face showed the years of responsibility he had carried. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" asked the science officer. "The pattern is too regular," Do-Yeon replied. "I'm ordering the fleet to halt while we investigate." The 5 ships slowed their approach. Smaller scout vessels were launched to examine the energy source. After 2 tense days, they returned with surprising news. "It's artificial," reported Scout leader Soman Park. some kind of beacon or marker. And there are more of them, forming a line toward the Valari system. Minji spent hours analyzing the data from the beacons. When she finally understood what they were looking at, she called for an emergency meeting with the captain. "These are navigation markers," she explained, displaying the information on the command center's main screen. "The Valari placed them here to guide our ships safely to their world. Based on the decay rate of the materials, they were deployed about 60 years ago." The room fell silent as everyone calculated what this meant. The beacons had been placed after Earth sent its reply, but before the ships departed. "They deployed these before they even knew if we would come," Minji said softly. "They hoped we would help, so they created a path for us to follow." As the fleet prepared to continue its journey, now following the Valari markers, Minji stood at a viewing window with her daughter Hana, now 28 and a skilled engineer. Together, they watched as the scout ships retrieved one of the smaller beacons for study. "They didn't know if we would come," Minji said, reviewing the beacon's data on her tablet, "but they hoped enough to leave us breadcrumbs all the way home." "Home?" Hana asked with a curious smile. "You mean the Valari world? You've never even seen it." Minji nodded thoughtfully. "Yet somehow it feels right to call it that. Our home isn't just where we were born, but where we're meant to be." The fleet resumed its journey, now following the path the Valari had laid out decades earlier. The markers became more frequent as they approached the Valari system, offering not just navigation guidance, but also updated information about conditions ahead. Captain Doyun called a meeting of all ship leaders to share the latest data from the beacons. The news was troubling. "The Valari situation has worsened faster than they predicted," he told the somber gathering. "Their star's instability has accelerated. According to these readings, they may have less than a century before their world becomes uninhabitable." "Can we go any faster?" asked the captain of the Einstein. "We're already pushing our engines beyond their designed limits," said Chief Engineer Juwu, Minji's husband. "But I believe we can squeeze out another 5% increase in speed." That night, Minji found her husband working late in the engine room, making adjustments to coax more power from the massive drives. "We'll make it in time," she said, bringing him a cup of tea. Juwu wiped grease from his hands and took the cup. "We have to. 25 more years of travel. I'll be an old man when we arrive." "And I'll be an old woman," Minji smiled. "But we'll see it together." As their ships continued following the Valari breadcrumbs across the void, the people of the Lifeline fleet prepared for the final leg of their journey. They were still 15 light years from their destination, but now they had proof that someone was waiting for them, still hoping that humanity's promise of help would be fulfilled. After 55 years of travel, the human fleet entered the Valari system. Minji Lee stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, now an elderly woman of 78. Her eyes widened as she saw the Valari homeworld for the first time, a planet larger than Earth with swirling purple clouds and vast oceans of deep blue. "It's beautiful," whispered Hana, Minji's daughter, standing beside her mother. "Even in its dying state." Sensors showed the truth behind the beauty. The planet's atmosphere was filled with radiation from its unstable sun. Violent storms lashed the surface. The once thriving ecosystem was in rapid decline. "Life signs detected," announced the science officer over the ship's communication system, "most concentrated below the surface. It appears the Valari have moved underground." Captain Taeyong Ba, the fourth and final captain of the journey, ordered the fleet to establish orbit. Born in the 15th year of the mission, Taeyong had never seen Earth. Now he would be the first human to speak with the Valari. "Send the greeting message Dr. Lee prepared," he ordered. The ships broadcast Minji's carefully crafted message in the mathematical language of the Valari. For several hours, they waited in tense silence. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer finally announced. "It's a response." The main screen lit up, revealing a creature unlike anything humans had imagined. The Valari appeared as a tall, slender being with partially transparent skin. Beneath the translucent outer layer, Complex networks of glowing blue-green energy pulsed like living circuits. Its head was elongated with large, lidless eyes that shimmered with an inner light. "People of Earth," the Valeri spoke, its voice translated by the ship's computers. "I am Elder Solana of the Valeri Council. We welcome you to our world." As the Valeri spoke, tiny droplets of luminescent blue liquid fell from its eyes. Tears that glowed with their own inner light. "For generations, we sent our message to the stars, hoping someone would answer. You crossed 40 light years because we asked. There is no greater gift in all the universe." Captain Taeyong responded with dignity. "We come in friendship and with hope that together we can find solutions to save your world." Over the next few days, humans and Valeri exchanged information. The Prometheus sent down small landing teams to meet with Valeri scientists. Minji, despite her age, insisted on being part of the first group. The shuttle descended through the stormy atmosphere to land near an entrance to the underground Valeri cities. As the doors opened, Minji took her first breath of air on another world. It was thin and carried an unfamiliar metallic scent. Valeri guides led the human team through a series of crystal tunnels that sloped gently downward. After walking for nearly a kilometer, they emerged into a vast cavern that took Minji's breath away. An entire city spread before them, built of the same crystal-like material as the tunnels. Buildings spiraled upward from the cavern floor, connected by delicate bridges. Everywhere, soft blue-green light emanated from the structures themselves, and from the bodies of the thousands of Valeri going about their daily lives. "This is Luminara, our capital city," explained their guide. "Once we lived under the open sky, but as our star grew unstable, we were forced to retreat underground. The humans were taken to a large circular chamber where the Valeri Council awaited them. 12 elders sat in a ring, their bodies glowing more intensely than the younger Valeri. Elder Solana rose to greet them. Up close, Minji could see that the Valeri's body was intricately patterned with what looked like living circuitry, pulsing with energy and information. "We have much to show you," Solana said, "and much to learn from you." Work began immediately. Human scientists were amazed by Valeri biological technology, which used living systems to perform functions that humans achieved with mechanical devices. The Valeri, in turn, were fascinated by human engineering solutions they had never considered. Engineer Sunwoo Choi led the team from the Armstrong. At 35, he had been born during the journey and had trained his entire life for this mission. His specialty was atmospheric engineering, developing systems that could repair damaged planetary atmospheres. "Your approach is completely different from ours," he told his Valeri counterpart during a planning session. "You work with living systems, enhancing what already exists naturally. We tend to build artificial solutions." The Valeri scientist, whose name translated roughly as Harmony Seeker, nodded. "This is why we called to you. Our minds follow established patterns. Yours jump unexpectedly to new possibilities." Together, they developed plans for massive atmospheric processors that would filter out the harmful radiation from the unstable sun. Human engineering provided the framework, while Valeri biological science created living filters that could adapt to changing conditions. In another laboratory, Hannah Lee worked with Valeri ecologists to develop new plant species that could survive on the increasingly hostile surface. The Valeri had extensive genetic knowledge, but had never considered the specific adaptations that Earth plants had evolved. "These modified rice varieties could grow even under your red sun spectrum," Hannah explained, "and they'll help stabilize the soil against erosion." After 3 months of intensive collaboration, Sunwoo gathered his engineering team to review their progress. The humans looked tired but excited as they shared their findings. "We came here thinking we were saviors," Sunwoo told his crew as they reviewed the designs for the atmospheric processors, "but we're learning as much from them as they are from us. This isn't charity, it's partnership." One young engineer raised his hand. "Sir, do you think we can really save this world? The damage is extensive." Sunwoo nodded thoughtfully. It won't be easy or quick. But between their biological mastery and our engineering approach, we have a real chance. The processors will take a decade to build and another 50 years to clean the atmosphere. The new plant species need time to spread and stabilize the surface. So no one in this room will live to see the final results, the young engineer said quietly. That's right, Sunwoo replied. Just as many who started our journey from Earth didn't live to see this world, but their children and grandchildren will walk under clear skies here someday. As the humans and Valari continued their work, a deep bond formed between the two species. Every day brought new discoveries and solutions that neither civilization could have developed alone. Together, they began the long process of healing a dying world, a partnership born from a desperate message sent across the stars and the remarkable species that had traveled 40 light years to answer it. Jinwoo Park stood on a hillside overlooking the Valley of New Seoul, the first human city on the Valari homeworld. At 73, his hair had turned white, but his eyes remained sharp as he watched children playing in the park below. Some human, some Valari, their glowing bodies darting between the trees like fireflies. 50 years had passed since the human fleet arrived. Jinwoo had been just 23 then, a young engineer fresh from training aboard the Armstrong. Now he was among the oldest of the original mission members still alive. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" said a voice beside him. Jinwoo turned to see Minji Lee's grandson, Taho. Now 48, Taho led the atmospheric monitoring team that tracked the ongoing recovery of the planet. "The air quality readings are the best we've ever recorded," Taho said. "The processors have finally removed most of the harmful radiation." Jinwoo nodded, taking a deep breath of the sweet air. "Your grandmother would have been proud. She didn't live to see this, but she never doubted it would happen." Minji had died 20 years earlier, but not before seeing the first atmospheric processor come online. That massive structure still stood on the horizon, one of 12 now encircling the planet. Each processor rose 3 kilometers into the sky, drawing in polluted air and releasing clean air through a network of filter systems that combined human engineering with Valari biological technology. Below the processors, the once barren surface now showed signs of new life. Special plants developed by human and Valari scientists spread across the land, their deep roots holding the soil against storms that grew less violent each year. Small animals had been reintroduced to the surface, establishing the beginnings of a balanced ecosystem. "The council has asked me to speak at tomorrow's ceremony," Taho said. "I'm not sure what to say." "Speak from the heart," Jinwoo advised. "This academy is the fulfillment of many dreams." The next day, thousands gathered for the dedication of the Human Valari Academy of Interstellar Cooperation. The grand building stood at the meeting point between New Seoul and the Valari capital of Luminara, its architecture blending the crystal structures of Valari design with the practical elements of human construction. Humans and Valari sat together beneath an open sky, something that would have been impossible when the fleet first arrived. Then, the Valari had lived underground to escape their toxic atmosphere. Now, more and more returned to surface homes as conditions improved. Elder Solana, one of the few original Valari council members still living, rose to speak. Her once bright glow had dimmed with age, but her voice remained strong. "When we sent our message into the void," she said, her translator conveying her words to the human audience, "we did not know if anyone would hear or hearing would come. Humanity did both. You crossed the stars because others were suffering. This marks the beginning of something profound in our galaxy, civilizations that rise to help one another." Solana gestured to the academy building behind her. "Here, our young will learn together. Valari and human knowledge will merge and grow. The solutions we have found together will be taught to future generations who will carry the spirit of cooperation to other worlds." Later that evening, Jinwoo walked through the academy's main hall. Display cases showed the history of the mission. Images of Earth, the generation ships, first contact, and the building of the processors. One case held a piece of the original beacon that had guided the human fleet through space. Yumha Kim, a young woman born on the Valari world to human parents, approached him. Engineer Park, I've been hoping to meet you. I'm studying the early atmospheric processor designs for my thesis. Call me Jinwoo, he said with a smile. Those first designs were quite primitive compared to what we have now. But they saved this world, Yunha said. My professor says we wouldn't have had time to develop the current technology if the first-generation processors hadn't bought us those crucial decades. Jinwoo nodded. It was never about finding the perfect solution immediately. It was about starting the healing process and improving our methods over time. The next morning, Jinwoo watched as 3 ships lifted from the spaceport. Unlike the massive generation ships that had brought humans to this world, these vessels were sleeker and faster, built with combined human and Valari technology. They would reach Earth in just 15 years. Do you regret not going back? Asked Himin Cho, a doctor who had also chosen to remain. No, Jinwoo said. Earth is humanity's first home, but this is my home now. Aboard the lead ship, Captain Junsu Lee, Minji's great-grandson, prepared for the long journey to a planet he had never seen. His ship carried hundreds of Valarian humans, along with data crystals containing the complete scientific and cultural exchange of the past 50 years. Transmission from Elder Solana, his communications officer reported. On the main screen, Solana appeared. Captain Lee, your great-grandmother brought our peoples together. Now you carry our shared knowledge back to Earth. But you also carry something more important, a message for the galaxy. The message had been composed jointly by human and Valari writers. It would be broadcast continuously during the journey home, and then from Earth to the stars beyond. We called for help, and humanity answered. Now together, we extend our hands to any who need assistance. The stars need not be places of isolation, but of connection. No sentient species should face extinction alone when others can help. As the ships disappeared into the depths of space, Jinwoo thought about the century-long journey that had led to this moment. A desperate message sent across 40 light-years, a human fleet that took generations to arrive. 2 vastly different species learning to work together to save a dying world. On a small hill outside New Seoul, a simple monument stood. It contained the names of every human and Valari who had worked on the planetary restoration but had not lived to see its completion. At the base were words in both human and Valari languages. They crossed the stars to help strangers. In doing so, they showed us all what we could become. A young Valari child approached the monument, its small body glowing softly in the twilight. Beside it walked a human child. Together, they placed flowers at the base of the stone, a simple gesture that symbolized the legacy of 2 worlds that had reached across the void to find each other when it mattered most. The end.